Financial Advice, and today I'm just going to talk you through the new rules for pension saving. Automatic enrolment is rolling out now, and it's something that small businesses definitely need to think about. So just to put it in plain English, it will be a legal requirement for employers to automatically enrol most of their employees into a qualifying workplace pension scheme and then make contributions into that scheme. Why is that actually happening now? We're living longer than before and spending more time in retirement, and not enough people are putting money into their pensions. There are 7 million people in the UK who are not saving at all into a pension. So there is a need to start saving more for retirement. Staging dates. That is the date when your company will need to have automatic enrolment for their employees in place. It's being rolled out now. At the moment, we're going through the 50 to 249 employee companies. So it'll be a while until it comes to small companies. But as of August next year, it's companies that employ between 30 and 49 people. And from January 2016, it will be companies with fewer than 30 employees. So the first thing to do is to find out what your staging date is, and then work backwards and work out what you need to do before that date, because that's the actual date you need to start making the contributions. So being prepared well ahead of time, as I say, the first thing is to know your staging date. The second thing is to nominate a company contact. If you're a very small business, it's probably you as the business owner, and develop a plan. What do you need to do by when to make sure that you actually hit your staging date? Because there are big fines if you miss it. Obviously, checking processes and software, there's a lot of interaction between your payroll systems and the pension provider systems, for example. Between now and staging date, what are the things that you'll need to do in the time that you have before then? The first thing is to assess your workforce for eligibility into the pension scheme and for that automatic enrolment. The second is the need to put in place that pension scheme that employees will be enrolled into. You're going to need to communicate the changes to the employees. There are certain minimum things that you need to do to communicate with them, and setting up payroll processes so that you can make sure when you make the contributions it all goes through seamlessly. The suggestion is that you need 12 to 18 months before your staging date to prepare. So assessing your workforce, there are a number of questions that you need to ask, some of which look remarkably obvious, but maybe a couple aren't. Does the employee work in the UK? I think it's fairly obvious. What age are they? Again, can't really question that. Do I employ the individual? There are a lot of contract employees and temporary workers where there is a question as to whether you will need to auto-enroll them. A lot is to do with the contract of employment. What do they earn? As we'll see on the next slide, how much they earn is a key factor in whether they're eligible to be auto-enrolled or not. And then the question is, do you include commissions, bonuses, additional extra allowances? What is your definition of earnings? So those four things are going to be the key criteria to decide whether they're eligible, non-eligible or entitled. This is a key slide, really. This does define what each individual is. Basically, people between the age of 22 to state pension age who are earning over £9,996 a year will be eligible to be enrolled into a pension scheme. The non-eligible employees are those earning between £5,772 and £9,996 a year. That rolled off the tongue very easily. But also non-eligible will be people who are between 16 and 21 and people over state pension age to 75 who are earning above 9,996. And then people who are entitled are individuals who are earning less than 5,772. So what does that actually mean? People who are eligible must be enrolled into a pension scheme and the employer has to make contributions. Non-eligible employees have the right to be enrolled into a pension scheme, and if they are enrolled, the employer must make contributions. So they're not automatically enrolled, but they can choose to be. And entitled employees, again, have the right to be enrolled, but if they do get enrolled, the employer doesn't have to make contributions, but obviously the employee would. So you've assessed your workforce, and now you have to choose a pension scheme into which you will auto-enroll them. And the key thing here is it must be a qualifying scheme. And by a qualifying scheme, it means there are no barriers to enrolment. It doesn't require an application form. It's automatically done for them. And the pension scheme must have what's known as a default fund, which is, where will I put my pension contributions if I can't choose myself? Oh, this is the default fund, this will be fine. And that's what a lot of people will go into because they won't be able to choose. The pension scheme can be occupational or it can be a personal pension. The key thing also is that the employer must pay their minimum of 3% of contributions. It will initially start at 1% and gradually will increase to that 3%, so you'll have time to adjust. Communicating to your workforce, there are rules about how you communicate and what you communicate, whether they will be auto-enrolled, why they will be, whether they have the right to opt in and opt out, which mostly they will, what the joining information is, and when you are communicating, it must be specific to the employee. One of the other key things is to have your payroll systems aligned with the pension provider. You must know what data they require and make sure that your system can speak to their system. You need to build in the schedule of payment, whether you're using gross or net pay, what contribution rate you want to make, because you could do more than the minimum, and components of pay that are included. So by putting all those things in place and doing things as we've outlined, you will finally be at staging date, which is when you actually have to start making the payments. At that point, you will automatically enrol all the eligible job holders and people who've opted in, and register with the pensions regulator. You'll need to keep your records and track changes to eligibility, because obviously people will get older, that's a given, but their earnings might change, and so they may become eligible. So that is what will happen at staging date. So in summary, find out your staging date. That is the key starting point. A PAYE reference, company reference, if you go onto the pensions regulator website and put your PAYE reference number in, that should give you your staging date. Then you can work back from there, allowing sufficient time to prepare with all the things that you need to do, and encourage, and communicate with your employees and encourage them to participate in the process. How can Leabourne help? Choosing an appropriate pension scheme is obviously one of the things that you need to do. Also, advice for employers and employees, helping you as an employer to go through those stages and to make the assessments that need to be made, and helping with communication with your employees. That also, for small businesses, that coordination between HR and payroll and everybody else, that's something that we can help with as well. There are various sources of information out there, and here are probably the main ones. And so if you have any questions or would like to speak about pensions auto-enrolment, please call me or visit the website or email me, sarah@leabourne.co.uk, and I'd be very happy to help. Thanks very much for your time. As I say, any questions, give me a call.